Hello everyone, and welcome to Tactical Safety. Today we're going to talk about a news story in Chicago. The link will be in the description box. Title of this news story is Woman Ran Over and Killed Her Husband After She Drove on the Dan Ryan as He Clung to the Roof, according to prosecutors. The Dan Ryan Expressway is an expressway in Chicago. This story is insane, and we're going to talk about domestic violence and things like that. Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer and this is not legal advice. This is just, I'm reading this news story and providing commentary with it. An Oak Forest woman, Oak Forest is the south suburbs of Chicago, right around 159th and Cicero, people who know the area. An Oak Forest woman allegedly drove onto the Dan Ryan Expressway as her husband clung to the roof of their car, but later fell off and she ran over and killed him, prosecutors said Wednesday. Hyua Chang, age 27, faces charges of reckless homicide and failure to report an accident involving death in the incident earlier this week. The couple were in a Nissan Rogue SUV on Sunday afternoon when Chang's husband, John Gutierrez, got out of the car to put money in a parking meter while they were on their way to a doctor's appointment in Chinatown, Assistant State's Attorney James Murphy said in court Wednesday. Chang then moved into the driver's seat of the car, prosecutors said. Gutierrez, age 31, was then seen trying to open the door of the SUV and then climbing on the roof of the car as she drove away, according to Murphy. Chang's private defense attorney, Jun Wang, told the Chicago Sun-Times that Chang said Gutierrez was addicted to drugs and had been physically abusing her for 2 weeks prior to the incident. The couple were on their way to the doctor because Chang had suffered a leg injury that Gutierrez caused, Wang said. Wang is her attorney. And he allegedly tried to stop her from getting out of the car or reporting the abuse to police. When Chang drove away, she got on Cermak Road, which is 22nd Street, the feeder ramp to head south on the Dan Ryan, and eventually got into the express lane, driving 55 miles an hour as Gutierrez clung to the roof rails and pounded on the SUV, Murphy said. A witness followed the SUV for part of the drive, including when Chang took the Garfield Boulevard exit to leave the expressway. Garfield Boulevard is 55th Street, for those of you who don't know Chicago. As the SUV slowed to a near stop, Gutierrez got off the car and tried again to open the passenger door. But Chang allegedly began to drive away as Gutierrez continued to hold on and he fell. Gutierrez's head and neck were then run over by one of the SUV's rear tires, Murphy said. But Chang continued to drive away and did not call the police. He was later pronounced dead at a hospital. Chang then drove back to Chinatown and parked the SUV in a lot, Murphy said. She allegedly called a friend and they discussed allegations of domestic violence by her husband against her. Together, Chang and her friend went to a Chicago police station to file a report about those allegations, but were referred to the Oak Forest Police Department because, remember, Oak Forest is where they reside. After traveling to the southwest suburb, they filed a police report there. Murphy said that Chang didn't mention driving with Gutierrez on the roof or running him over when filing those reports. She neglected to mention that. So Illinois State Police were notified and Chang was then taken into custody early Monday, which was the next day. Oak Forest Police declined Wednesday to release a copy of the report that Chang filed. Wang told Judge Kelly McCarthy that his client was trying to escape being kidnapped by her husband when she drove away from him in Chinatown at the start of the incident. The attorney said she couldn't see the area at the rear of the car and didn't know she had run him over and had later tried calling him. Chang has no prior criminal history and was not a danger to the community, Wang said. She works as a nail technician and could only afford a minimal bond, he said. All of her relatives are in China, he said. McCarthy made no comments in court, but set a $100,000 cash bond, meaning she would be required to post the full amount to be released as the case continues. McCarthy added that if Chang is released, she would not be allowed to drive, and Chang is expected back in court May 17th. So now, what it is in Cook County, most of the time, people get issued D bonds, which are deposit bonds, which means you post 10%, get out of jail. So you have a $100,000 D bond, post $10,000 out of jail. This is a $100,000 cash bond, which from what I've seen is pretty excessive for this kind of case and involving someone who has absolutely zero criminal history. Now, her lawyer, what I think from my experience as a police officer, I think her lawyer will probably easily be able to get her off because of the fact that for somebody to jump on the roof of a vehicle like that, before I even read the whole story, when I saw the first part of the article, I said from the start that he was probably abusing her, and then she saw this as an opportunity to escape this guy, get away from him. And any sane or rational person is not going to jump on the roof of a vehicle. You say, okay, well, I'll call a friend for a ride home, or I'll take Uber or Lyft or whatever. Because the only way somebody, of course, somebody on drugs would do something like that. That part is definitely believable. And also, so is the part about her being abused. Because if someone is being abused, I've worked plenty of cases where women have been abused, beaten, everything by these guys. And then the most dangerous time for them is when it's time for them to escape their tormentor. So she saw that as her opportunity to escape, and she took that opportunity. She scooted over to the driver's seat and drove off. The only reason somebody's going to jump on the roof of a vehicle to prevent someone from escaping like that is if, what it said in the article, he wanted to prevent her from going to the police to report the domestic violence, which is very believable. And she worked as a nail technician, and all her relatives are in China. So she might also be a victim of human trafficking. You never know, because whenever you're somebody and they have absolutely no relatives here and they work a job like that, the person who owns the nail salon is probably taking a good portion of her pay. That's how that stuff works a lot of times. And she's like, she might be like an indentured servant or something like that. And like I said, she saw that as her only opportunity to escape, and she took that opportunity. And any halfway decent attorney would easily be able to get her off that charge right there of the reckless homicide. Because in Illinois, 720 ILCS, which stands for Illinois Compiled Statutes 5/9-3, involuntary manslaughter and reckless homicide. Elements of that crime are as follows. A person who unintentionally kills an individual without lawful justification commits involuntary manslaughter if his acts, whether lawful or unlawful, which cause the death, are such as are likely to cause death or great bodily harm to some individual, and he performs them recklessly, except in cases in which the cause of death consists of the driving of a motor vehicle or operating a snowmobile, all-terrain vehicle, or watercraft, in which case the person commits reckless homicide. She didn't tell him to climb on the roof of the vehicle, and then her attorney can easily argue that she had no idea that he was on the roof of the vehicle. Any attorney could argue that. And the jury may convict her of failure to report an accident involving death. And that's about it. And you won't get any time for that at all. So we're going to keep covering this and see what happens with it. But like I said, anyone's going through domestic violence like that, you have the opportunity to escape your tormentor, utilize it. So there you have it. There's my commentary on this so far. And remember to stay armed, stay vigilant, and stay tactical. We'll see y'all next time.